So in Chapter 7, we get into investments, and I'm going to go over problem number 63 at the end of the chapter. There's a lot of material here, so just kind of bear with me as we go through and learn a little bit about how the investments work. And as I told you in the introductory video, you never know what you're going to get into when someone walks in with investments, and oftentimes they won't know the answer. And many times I've had to call their broker and ask them questions, get additional information. Vanguard, Wells Fargo, Edward Jones, lots of different companies, and all of the forms are a little bit different. And so it's always fun when you get the big thick ones and you get to go through there and ask them questions. I really do enjoy doing these, but it can be a little overwhelming, so you just take a little bit at a time. So this is Mr. and Mrs. Howell, and they have investment assets, and we're given the date acquired, the purchase price, and the broker's commission paid at the time of purchase. And then underneath that, we're given the investments that were sold, and we can see that the 300 shares of IBM common stock were sold, 3,000 shares of Apple, 2,100 of Cisco, and 450 shares of Vanguard. And if you'll notice, there were only 420 to start with, so keep that in mind as we go through the problem. We got a 1099-B, and it showed us the sale proceeds net the commissions paid. So the IBM sales, for example, was reported at $13,600, so we don't take that additional 100 off. It's already reported on the 1099-B that way. We also know that Vanguard Mutual gave them a 1099-B that had a $900 long-term capital gain distribution. It was reinvested in 31 additional shares of Vanguard Mutual Funds. That's that additional 31 shares that we found. We also see that Mr. Howell loaned $6,000 to a friend. We see that they have a $2,300 short-term capital loss carryover and a $400 long-term capital loss carryover from previous years. And they did not instruct their broker to sell any particular lot, and so that's important to know as well. That Howells earned $3,000 in mutual bond interest, $3,000 in interest from corporate bonds, and $4,000 in qualified dividends. And they have $130,000 of wage income during the year. And it asks you to go to the IRS website and download the most current version of Form 8949 and Form 1040 Schedule D. So, and I don't know what websites I have open here, so let's see. If you go to irs.gov, it's pretty easy to find forms. There's actually a drop-down box for forms and instructions, and you can click on that and you can search. And so this says to find Form 8949. And their instructions will usually be listed right underneath the form. These should be PDF. So here's our sales and other dispositions of capital assets. And then we can also download, it asks us to get the 1040 Schedule D. So we want to go find that as well. And this is our capital gains and losses. And as you can see, 2018 is the most recent form that we can find. And I'll go over these with you in just a few minutes. But for now, I'm going to go jump back over into Excel. And we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Mr. and Mrs. Howell. And so I'm going to start with their wage income. I'm jumping around a little bit. This is given to us pretty straightforward. We have interest income, which is also given to us. We have qualified dividend income, which is also given to us. And then we have to calculate our net capital gain from Schedule D. So we're going to go do that in just a minute. And then we have our adjusted gross income. And then from that, we'll have our itemized deductions. or standard, depending on which one is higher. Excuse me. Excuse me. And then we have taxable income. Okay, so what we got to do is go figure out this number right here. So we are actually, I'm going to jump around, like I said, a little bit. And I am going to go over, let's see, where do I want to start? I think I'll go to the 8940. Wait, what did I have open? Schedule D. We'll go to the Schedule D. So we've got, obviously, we would put their names here, but what we know right now is Mr. and Mrs. Howell. Always make sure you verify that that Social Security number is where it's supposed to be. As I have told you before, if you have good software, it's going to fill that in for you, so that's not going to be a problem at all. So what we have here are some, let me get to the right form, Schedule D. We have our short-term capital gains and losses, and so let me go ahead and open, let me get a new tab and go ahead and open my Form 8949. Okay, so we're going to have both of these going, and we still have Mr. and Mrs. Howell. And again, make sure that Social Security number is on your tax return the way that it's supposed to be. Okay, so now on the 8949, trying to keep all my numbers straight here, we've got short-term transactions reported on Forms 1099B showing basis was reported to the IRS, which is normal. And we've got 451 shares. And this is just a description for you as much as anything, but they're tying this to the 1099B. And you can put various on date acquired. I don't believe you can put it on date sold anymore. Used to, you could. Proceeds, and this, again, this is given to us in the problem. How do we know it's short term? Well, we've got to go look. It was acquired on 3/2/2019, and it was sold on 12/21/19, and so we know it's short term. So our proceeds were $15,700. Our cost, and if you look back, it's got our cost at $14,700. However, it gave us some additional information about our Vanguard shares. Remember, we had 420,000, and it told us that the fund reporting a $900 long-term capital gain, it was reinvested in the 31 additional Vanguard shares. And so when we look at the cost, it's going to be let me find it. Sorry, I've got papers everywhere. Okay, 14,700 plus 900. And so it's going to be the 15,600 is the cost. I'm sorry, the basis. Well, yeah, the cost or basis. And then we don't have any adjustments, and so we have a $100 gain. Now, where this one is easy to mess up is if you don't look closely at the 1099B and see that that long-term gain was reinvested. And then we have a non-business bad debt. This is going to go in short term. Again, typically we can just enter various here. If you know the date, you want to put it in there. And then that happened on 12/31/19. It's a bad debt. It had a $6,000 basis. That's how much we lost. And so we have a $6,000 short-term loss. So look up your rules on non-business bad debt, but that's where it would go on your Form 8949. I'm working on the Form 8949. And then again, your software will do this for you. But as you're learning these forms, we have to enter it. So we have a total there of 15,700, a total here of 21,600. And so we have a net short-term capital loss of $5,900. So you can kind of see how that nets. Okay, so that's the front page of the 8949. Now I'm going to go to the second page of the 8949. Again, you just want to make sure that all this is carrying forward the way that it's supposed to. If it isn't, you have to enter that because the IRS requires. And so again, we've got long-term transactions that were reported on the 1099-B. We've got 300 shares of IBM stock. We know when that was purchased. We know when that was sold. It's long-term. We know the sales proceeds. We know the cost. And so we have a gain of $3,150. And then we have 3,000 shares of Apple preferred stock. These tabs don't like me. Okay, we know when it was acquired. We know when it was sold. We know what it was sold for. We know the basis. And therefore, we can calculate the gain. That was a good sale for them. And then we have 21 shares of Cisco common stock. Again, we know the date it was purchased and the date it was sold, sales price, basis, and then our gain of $9,550. Okay, so then again, your software will calculate this for you, but while we're doing forms, we have to enter it. $295,600, $211,800, and then a total long-term gain of $83,800. Okay, so I believe that's everything on our form 8949. Let me get this out of my way so I can move. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my Schedule D. And you can see it says total for all short-term transactions reported on Form 1099-B. And it says if you use 8949, leave this blank, go to 1B. So we're going to go down here where it says total for all transactions reported on Form 8949 with box A checked. And so basically what we're doing is putting on our Schedule D the information from our Form 8949, which has our detail. And we carry all this forward. And again, you have to go ahead and enter this information. We don't have anything there, but we do have a carryover from last year, if you remember. And so then the net would be the $8,000, the two of those added together, or $8,200. Okay, then we have the long term. We're going to do the same thing. Box D was checked, so $295,600. Cost was $211,800, and then we had a net of $83,800, and we did have a carryover of $4,800, and then remember that $900, that capital gain. We've got to make sure we get that in there, and then $79,900 is our net. Okay, and I think that's it for our Schedule D. Just want to make sure. And so now I'm going to go back to my Excel spreadsheet. Let me get these forms out of the way. Okay, so we've got $79,900 here. We've got $8,200 here. So let's take that $79,900, and I've got a calculator, minus the $8,200, and we've got $71,700. So that $71,700 is what's going to go, and we're going to say from Schedule D, and then I'm going to put Form 8979 because that's where our detail is. Okay, so all that said, that gives us our adjusted gross income. So all of those added together, $208,700, and then our itemized deductions. Let me go back and see. I can't even remember what was given to us in the problem now. This is a great problem. It gives us itemized deductions of $25,000, and our standard deduction is $24,400. And so we're going to take our itemized because it's higher, and then that will give us our taxable income, which is going to be our AGI minus our itemized deductions, or $183,700. Okay, there you go. I mean, it's a great problem. This is very realistic. As I said, when you're working in software, it's a lot easier because you're just entering straight off that 1099B, but you have to be able to go back and look at the Schedule D in the Form 8979 and make 100% sure that everything is populated where it's supposed to be so that it is taxed appropriately. And we'll talk more about that in later chapters, but great problem. Let me know if you have any questions.